Moving right along, we are going to the we got product, price, distribution. Our third P, and this one, distribution, physical distribution, logistics. This is the area of marketing that, unless you actually have been in business, you're probably totally ignorant of, because distribution, when it's done well, is invisible. So when you go to the store for a box of Cap'n Crunch, you reach for the Cap'n Crunch, you put it in your cart, you don't even think about what it took to get that box of Cap'n Crunch there. But if they're out, you notice. So you only notice physical distribution if they're out or if there's a situation. However, if you're in business, you recognize how critical it is to have help in reaching your end customer. Most businesses can't get from the factory to the customer all by themselves. So just some definitions, which would make great stuff for multiple choice tests if anybody was thinking of a multiple choice test environment. Physical distribution is just dealing with a firm's finished inventory, and this to me was a little confusing here. A marketing channel is all of the organizations, its activities associated with moving the product from producer to the consumer. And then there's another term that we talk about in logistics or distribution, the supply network. And that's all of the organizations and activities associated with getting the raw materials and components to the manufacturer. Sound confusing? It is. I think it might be more instructive to think in terms of a value chain. And a value chain is just, let's take the look from soup to nuts. It's all of the activities that it takes to get a raw material and into a finished product and into the customer's hand. And the idea is that that raw material might go through many stages, many processes, many activities before it gets there, and at each stage of the way, somebody's adding value. So, for example, if I'm buying a car, that car started out as coal and iron ore, and that coal and iron ore was smelted into steel, and then that steel was fabricated into parts, and those parts were assembled into the car, and then the car was shipped to a retailer who actually negotiated the transaction, and that's what it took to get it into my hand. So if we look at this graphically, we think of a value chain as all of the activities that have to happen to get a raw material into the consumer's hands as a finished product. Then we can look at the idea of a marketing channel or a supply network in terms of where you are in the value chain. So for example, I think I used in the book example of a can of peas. So if we're talking about a can of peas, and if I am a cannery, then my raw materials would be peas, which I can, and my finished product would be cans of peas, which I move on to the consumer. So I have this you are here in the middle. This is from your perspective. From your perspective, the peas are raw materials, so that would be your supply network. And the cans of peas are your finished product, that would be your marketing channel. You need to have logistics to get the raw materials to your factory and logistics to get the materials out of your factory. The difference is kind of the emphasis you put on the transaction. Supply network is sometimes called upstream logistics. Marketing channel sometimes called downstream logistics. With the supply network, I'm looking for efficiency. I'm looking to get my materials as inexpensively but with the appropriate quality as possible. For my marketing channel, the emphasis is to encourage consumption of the end user. And even though I may not be the person that has a relationship with the end user, it's important for me that the end user has a relationship with my can of peas, because we all know how important a can of peas is to our sense of security. I would never leave the house without a can of peas in the cupboard. And I don't like them, so they will stay there forever. So this just says in writing what I talked about.